podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by UserWay.org. UserWay ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. Alrighty, folks, welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, dynamic, and sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am one of your hosts, Micah Sargent.
And I am your other host, Matthew Casnelli, and I'm super pumped because this is episode 100. Woo!
Confetti, poppers, balloons, cake, all sorts of things. Yay! We'll add those in post, right? Thank you,
yes, exactly.
Kevin. We're so excited. Yay. No, this is, wow. We've been doing this for quite some time now. We've reached episode 100 and we're still here to bring you the smart tech knowledge you need. It kicks off this week with what is coming out tomorrow, a wearable that we talk about on the show from time to time. Some of you may know it as the Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch Series 7 officially launches tomorrow. I am set to get one in the mail tomorrow. We'll see how that turns out. And looking forward to talking about it even more on Tuesday for iOS Today. But until that time, folks have been able to get an early look at it. The different review units shipped out, and it talks about the Apple Watch Series 7. I specifically brought it up on this show originally to talk about the fact that the charging features have improved in the Series 7, making it a more capable sleep tracker for folks. And I'm interested in seeing how that bears out. There's a lot to talk about here, but I want to hear kind of your early thoughts as well, Matthew, and kind of what you've seen from the reviews of this device thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that quicker charging is going to be an important feature, especially the in 15 minutes it can charge up for 8 hours or is it 20 minutes to be able to sleep the entire night. So I think if you had that concern before, this will definitely sort of resolve that issue of it. You can get through the day and then just quickly top it off before bed or something like that, and then get through the night as well. So that seems like definitely a major improvement this year. And just for, I don't know, I always have battery life issues only because of the betas, so maybe that's not exactly the same thing. But I would definitely like that battery life to come back quicker too. But I think the big thing seems to be the screen. I mean, quite literally, it's bigger. Is it over 50% bigger than the Series 3? It's like twice as big as the Series 3, which is still on sale.
Exactly.
I know a lot of developers are like, please just get rid of that size. But I'm just curious. I mean, I have the Series 5. I didn't get one last year, and I didn't actually get one this year either. I just wasn't around for the launch time, and I was like, I'll just wait at that point. But it's definitely just being faster and more just easier to see, and the brightness I think is 70% brighter when your wrist is down, so you can still check the time without kind of just barely seeing a dim screen. There's a lot of good benefits, but I think in general the reviews are kind of, which is true for most people, at least year over year. You probably don't need the new watch unless something happened to it and you need a new one. But once you do get that new one, you'll enjoy all of these new benefits. So that's pretty cool. Pretty straightforward with the Apple Watch at this point. I think the colors are a little odd this year. There's no silver. And so
yes,
I think that is kind of weirding some people out a little bit. But it's interesting. I'd have to see the green one in person. But people say it's basically black, but you can tell it's green if you look at it. So that'd be interesting. I know you're into
Yeah,
green. So.
that's the one that I'm getting. I'm looking forward to it. I want it to look green all the time, so maybe I'll have to paint it myself. Who knows? But yes, the colors this year, I don't understand what Apple was trying to do in terms of the colors. As far as looking at it through the lens of an upgrade from an older device to this one, I think is great. This is, all sorts of improvements for people who have earlier devices. And yes, you're going to end up unhappy if you are looking at year-over-year iterative updates, because the company is not thinking in terms of year-over-year iterative updates in many cases, because they have the data that shows when someone upgrades to the latest thing. And so those of us sort of steeped in tech, those of us in the tech industry who upgrade every single year, make up a small part of that larger group of folks. So yeah, it's not likely that if you're going from the Series 6 to the Series 7, you're going to be, wow, blown away. But when you're coming from an earlier device, especially that Series 3, this is next level in terms of the screen size and the speed of the device, as well as battery life in comparison to those to the earlier watches. As we kind of stay in wearable, hearable area, the UBL area, I wanted to talk about an interesting piece from the Wall Street Journal. I just talked about this on Tech News Weekly, but it's great for this show as well, because we see Apple with its Apple Watch kind of every year espouse the greatness of the Apple Watch's health tracking features. It's, measuring your heart rate. It's can do ECGs. It can tell your blood oxygen level. All of these different things that it's able to track. And then you wear it on your wrist for a long period of time, and it starts to add to that data set that it has about you and provide trends and say, hey, your respiratory rate overnight has increased or decreased, or this has gone up, this has gone down. And that goes on and on and on. So it's no surprise to hear, as the Wall Street Journal has written, that Apple is reportedly working on bringing some of its health stuff to its AirPods lineup. With this new technology, the AirPods will, this is something the company's working on. It may or may not be released at some point. Will be able to determine your temperature of your body, and will be able to kind of keep an eye on your posture and give you kind of feedback about that, and will kind of overall work together with the different devices that you have to provide a more complete picture of your health. And I thought, this is the perfect device, this device that you're already sticking in your ear, to just have a little IR sensor in there that's measuring the temperature of your tympanic membrane. So smart. And we've already seen in Apple's AirPods Pro the ability to boost a conversation that's taking place in front of you. And I think that we're going to see, we already do see, but I think we're going to continue to see an increase in the number of augmented audio devices that are out there. I get ads all the time on Instagram for these little plugs that you put in your ear, and they're like earplugs, but they have like this specifically designed hole that's bigger on the outside and smaller on the inside, and it's supposed to help direct audio and cut back certain frequencies and yada, yada, yada. And you can buy special earplugs that help you hear things at a concert without blasting out your eardrums.
Yeah, I have that actually.
Oh yeah. So you're familiar with that. And so I think I can see a future where we have these hearables in our ears a lot of the time, not because we're listening to music and sort of drowning out the environment, but because we're using them to be more present in a conversation that's taking place in front of us by boosting the EQ of the voices that are right there. And then at some point, this technology gets smart enough to understand room noise, including other conversations, and bring that down while bringing up the conversation in front of you up. Or if you're tired of listening to me go on about this, then you can slowly drown out my voice until it's and the thing that you want to listen to is much louder. All of those, those features are going to be super cool. I would love to have that for concert. I don't have hearing damage from going to a lot of concerts, and I would like to keep it that way. And so it was interesting the last time I went to a concert, how I thought, I really wish I would have brought some earplugs, because I totally forgot. And by the end of it, you can barely hear out of your ears, and it's awful. So I think that would be good to see these improvements, to see these kinds of features coming to these devices, because they already do a fine job of noise cancellation, et cetera, with what they offer right now.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed that all up. Like, I unfortunately do have some of that hearing damage stuff, and that's why that kind of information can be really helpful. And for people who don't know, you can actually track and get notifications about your headphone volume levels as well, which is some health stuff that they're already doing, but obviously just related to the audio parts. But this does seem very cool and a logical next step, especially just because if they're in there, they might as well be tracking you. And I don't know, I was even just, while you were talking, I was thinking about how, because of the spatial audio stuff, they know which way you're facing too, which can be an interesting piece of data to implement. So I'm interested to see what they do with this. So is there rumors on when it should, is it like this year or next year or?
So they say that it won't be next year, but potentially the year after that. So still early days, and again, may never ship at all. But we've already seen conversation boosts. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that. Now, speaking of AirPods Pro, some of you out there may have experienced crackling issues with your AirPods, and you may have heard, as I have, that Apple, the rumors continue to point to Apple releasing a new pair of AirPods, but not AirPods Pro. For the love of God, give me a new pair of AirPods Pro that don't have the issues that the current edition has, the current model has. In any case, Apple has extended its repair program for those cackling AirPods Pro for another year. So essentially it was going to expire at the end of this month, and Apple has extended it to the end of October 2022. So if you have AirPods that stop working between now and October 2022, and you even bought them on the first day, as I did, those will be covered by this repair program. I'm planning on taking a trip to the Apple Store soon to have them listen to them and give me a replacement, because I have missed having these. I've got all sorts of different headphones that I've been trying to use in the meantime, and just none of them compare. And as I've said before, I would be completely fine with a new pair that tells me that the microphone glue issue, which is what people widely believe is the problem behind this, isn't a problem going forward. So give me new AirPods Pro, Apple, won't you? And then last but not least, I thought this was an interesting story. AirTags were responsible for tracking down a stolen Subaru. So there was a Subaru, which is, for some people who might not know, a vehicle that was stolen. And the owner of the AirTag inside of it was able to track down their lost vehicle with the help of AirTags. So it's like LoJack, but much less costly, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty solid save there. Although he does say that he left the keys in the car, so
yeah,
it's a little like grab, not break in and everything. But that's still impressive.
I encourage everyone, if they want to learn more about that, to go read the piece, because we're not going to go through the whole thing.
It's a whole it's
a long
epic
Reddit post
saga in there, so definitely check it out.
You can add music on your own and sort of really get into it.
There's a video,
exactly.
Nice.
All right. And let's go ahead and move on to some other sort of not directly Apple, but third-party news.
HomeKit.
Yeah. The first one is this really interesting looking speaker from Bowers and Wilkins. It's called the Zeppelin. And the Zeppelin speaker, I look at it and I think, where would you put it and why would you put it?
You got to put it front and center.
It looks like it takes up so much space. And
it's a giant. What, I mean, how do you even describe it? It's like a giant flattened egg, like not flattened.
Exactly.
But
I mean, if you've ever seen
out.
a blimp, it's a blimp.
Yeah,
it's a Zeppelin.
That's wow.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
But it's like on a little aluminum stand too. I guess so. It originally came out back with the it was a AirPod or an iPod dock in 2007. So this article is about how it's an iconic speaker, but I had never seen it before.
Yeah, not iconic to me.
Maybe because it's $800, but
yeah, it's very expensive. Bowers and Wilkins is known for making some good sounding products. I just wish that they would make them in something that, like, I'd have to hang my TV so much higher in order for it not to be in the way of this. That's mostly what I'm thinking about.
This looks to me like one of those products that when like somebody has like a fancy apartment in a TV show with their sound system, like this would be the centerpiece over there kind of situation.
Definitely.
So definitely if you're into it, this is a pretty sweet speaker, it seems like. But it's got AirPlay too, which is always a good thing. And it does have ALEXA support. I cannot say that as fast as you, but
I practice off air. That's what you don't see.
Yeah.
ALEXA.
In front of the mirror every morning.
Yeah. Up next, the TP-Link HomeKit smart plug has finally hit the market. If you have had TP-Link for a long time and knew that they were going to be making a HomeKit version and were wondering why is it not out yet, well, now it is. I've had a TP-Link plug that I haven't used in forever, and it was... I think it was a sale on Amazon one time, probably during what is that called? Amazon Day? What is that called?
Prime Day?
Prime Day. Don't know why I couldn't think of that. And so I bought one for like $4 or something and used it. Specifically, I had set it up with ALEXA so that I could say, turn on this specific light in my bedroom. And it stayed there for a long time, and I just kind of forgot about it as... It itself, it was just kind of like the ALEXA light, you know what I mean? I didn't really think about it being TP-Link. But when I moved and I sort of, put it in with all the other smart plugs I had, I left it unplugged because in the new place, I just wanted to have those HomeKit plugs and not ones that were not HomeKit. So TP-Link finally has the plug out that supports HomeKit, so you can make use of that if you haven't, or if you haven't used something like Homebridge to make it happen.
Yeah, but it is kind of weird. It's not available on their website or Amazon. It's just through Best Buy or Target. So if you are looking for it, you'll have to get it there. And like their old one that they promised, it doesn't have the support from 2019. So classic HomeKit story there, but at least there is something that you can jump off of.
Yes. In a moment, we're going to talk about Google, but we have just reached the time, so we're going to take a quick break. So I can tell you, I'm really excited to have them as a sponsor on the network. It's UserWay.org who are bringing you this episode of Smart Tech Today. UserWay is amazing, and their vision is one that we here at Twit can definitely connect with. Every website, without exception, needs to be accessible. We talk a lot about accessibility on Smart Tech Today and how important it is for the technology that we talk about and that others use to be accessible. And it's always a celebration when the technology becomes more accessible to people. And this is the thing, that every website, without exception, needs to be accessible because it's a public entity. And, that's important because that's the law. But honestly, it's also important because it's just the right thing to do. UserWay has an incredible AI-powered solution that tirelessly enforces the hundreds of WCAG guidelines. With just one line of JavaScript, UserWay can achieve more than an entire team of developers. Making your website accessible can be overwhelming, especially if you've got a huge website and you're going, how in the world do I get this set up? Well, yeah, we understand it can be overwhelming, but UserWay solutions make it simple, easy, and, well, it's cost-effective. Check out their free scanning tool to see if your website is ADA compliant. UserWay's AI and machine learning solutions power accessibility for more than 1 million websites. In fact, UserWay is trusted by Coca-Cola, heard of them? Disney? eBay? Yeah. And FedEx and many other leading brands. Now, UserWay is making its best-in-class enterprise-level accessibility tools available to small and medium businesses. Operating an accessible and compliant website isn't only the right thing to do, it also makes business sense. Millions of people will require UserWay just to purchase your products. And when you need to scale, well, you need UserWay. For years, UserWay has been on the cutting edge, creating innovative accessibility technologies that push the envelope of what's possible with AI, machine learning, and computer vision. UserWay's AI automatically fixes violations at the code level. And here are some of the things UserWay does. It auto-generates image alts, so those descriptions for those images will get written for you. It remediates complex nav menus, which is a really big thing that people struggle with, getting those navigation menus correctly. It's an Achilles heel for companies. UserWay ensures that all pop-ups are accessible. It fixes vague link violations and fixes any broken links. It ensures your website makes use of accessible colors while remaining true to your brand. And UserWay gives you a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed on your website. And by the way, UserWay is platform agnostic. So whether you're using WordPress, Shopify, or Wix, you can easily add UserWay. And the same goes for AEM, Sitecore, or SharePoint. UserWay integrates seamlessly with all. So let UserWay help your business meet its compliance goals and improve the experience for your users. By the way, the voice of Siri, who is considered the world's most popular voice assistant, has a message for you about UserWay.
Hi, I'm Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri. You won't hear me say something like this too often. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're looking for. But every day, that's what the internet is like for millions of people with disabilities. UserWay fixes all of that with just one line of code.
That is the very cool Susan Bennett. And as Susan said, one line of code is all it takes. UserWay can make any website fully accessible and ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly and customize it to fit their needs. It's also a perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. Go to userway.org/twit and get 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. Visit userway.org/twit today. And folks, we know you can head there on your own. You might type in UserWay. Please head to userway.org/twit. That way they know, Susan Bennett knows, that we sent you. And you'll get that 30% off AI-powered accessibility for the listeners of this very show. Whether you're a small website or a huge one that's adding new pages all the time, you want to be accessible, and frankly, you need to be accessible. So this can help you. userway.org/twit. Thanks so much to UserWay for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. Now let's head back. Matthew Casanelli, why don't you tell us about some Google updates that folks should be checking out?
Sure. There's a bunch of various headlines, but all just quick little features. Google Photos is doing some more interesting stuff with their Android widgets, which I think is cool and makes me jealous as an iOS user, where there's a bunch of various interesting shapes for their frame, or they're calling it frame styles, so that you can kind of have different like squiggly lines around the photos and things like that, which I think that's a good example of the customization that Android users get that I don't think we would ever see on iOS, just because Apple would like freak out about how to make that proper in every single way or something like that. So definitely jealous there. So that's nice. And this was just kind of related to this next story too, of the Google Photos memories are coming to the Nest Hub's Your Day tab. So just surfacing more of that memory stuff that Google automatically curates in throughout the morning, afternoon, and evening, which is pretty nice too. So I love this kind of stuff. I've been using Google Photos on my Chromecast a lot more, and so I'd like to see something like that I guess I don't exactly... A Nest Hub you can interact with, so that might help, because I don't know how you click on it on the Chromecast, but that kind of stuff is always
Google,
good, so.
Click! In the top left corner of the screen, 50 pixels to the left, 100 pixels down. Oh no, this is a 4K display, 50 times 4. 200 pixels from the left of the screen.
I like how you're making fun of that, but all I can think of is that's exactly what I'm doing with shortcuts and like resizing windows on the Mac now. And you're
using shortcuts to do that? I've got
because
Loom
shortcuts
to do
for
that
Mac
for
can
me.
do that. exactly. But you can't do your own fancy formula where it always takes up exactly 1/3 of the screen. So I haven't even finished it.
No matter
because
the
it is
display.
too
Oh my God, you're over there doing
complicated.
all this math? How
Exactly.
terrible.
You can't actually detect the size of a display is usually the issue, but at least with shortcuts, that's just the common story. Is the one part that you need is like, oh, they just haven't built that yet. No, just kidding. But anyways, other Google AR stuff that I always like to see these stories. They've rolled out 5 threatened Swedish species as part of its AR animals feature. So you can go and check out the lynx, white-backed woodpecker, harbor porpoise, and moss carder bee. I probably should have practiced these.
In the mirror.
Exactly.
We talked about this
So that's
before,
kinda
these
cool.
AR creatures that Google offered for you to be able to see them kind of in a space. It's nice to see endangered animals make the list for the sake of kind of giving them front of mind look. Oh man, the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation has...
Say it.
I can't.
Say it. Naturskydens Foreningen.
Yeah, close.
The name in the article.
My goodness, I wish I spoke Swedish. Yeah. So anyway, these are, I love that they're highlighting these animals that do need to have some more attention paid to them. And as we know, augmented reality and virtual reality can, in many ways, help connect the parts of our brain that don't normally have empathy or sympathy for something that is just on screen, where we have that disconnect and we see it as not real. By bringing these things into our space, even if they are cartoonish, by bringing them into our space and learning about them as we're kind of seeing them with us, it does help improve upon and increase that empathy factor. And so it can probably lead to better activism on the part of individuals who are looking at these animals and going, wow, we should do more for protecting them.
Yep, agreed.
What's next?
Another one, this is interesting, although I like how, just realizing, the program is Drive with Headspace on Waze. But
God, I saw so many people so
up.
upset about this.
I like how all the graphics, they have their eyes closed as they're driving.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, typically that's what I associate with meditation, is having your eyes closed. But it's basically a way to, within Waze, kick off a custom Spotify playlist with music and content from Headspace that can kind of take you on a serene ride in a hot air balloon as you're stuck in traffic or something like that.
This is what's interesting. I have to, this is where I do go back to that thing about tech journalists failing to step outside of themselves, failing to have
they're all
empathy.
cynics.
Yeah, because not everyone lives in Los Angeles where everybody wants to disappear into the nether rather than have to sit in the traffic there, where it is stressful, where there is, like, people live in more places than just Northern California, Southern California, and New York. And I can think about back in Missouri when I was going between, because we Midwesterners will travel It's interesting. Like here, I don't know, I've talked about this a little bit before, but like here, when someone's talking about where they're going, and it's, I think in terms of duration as opposed to actual miles. So the person is 2 hours away. I've noticed that a Californian will say, that's a 4-hour trip, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. Us Midwesterners see those two things as separate. It's a 2-hour trip. You go there and then you spend the time there and then you have to make that trip back home, and that's 2 hours. But it's not 4-hour trip because it's not happening at the same time. So I have had far less of an issue, traveling longer distances, and it has boggled my mind, especially when I first moved here and I was meeting new people and hanging out with people like all the way down in Silicon Valley, where they were like, wait, why are you coming all this? Like, I feel bad that you're coming all this. No, you don't have to feel bad. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's fine. And so in those instances, like back in Missouri, going between, I would regularly take, it was a 6-hour trip, technically, 3 hours there, 3 hours back, to my hometown or to a place close to my hometown where a lot of my friends were. And on that drive, there's not a lot of traffic. Most of the time, it's just driving along those highways. And this would be perfect for that. Being able to practice my meditation during those periods, 1,000%. So I understand the people that are complaining about how there's no way to find peace on the road whenever they live in a place that has high traffic and it's a stressful experience. But at the same time, maybe those folks would also benefit from a little bit of, if not meditation, mindfulness of being aware of what things on the road are affecting them, and then learning from that, feeling that, and understanding what's happening. And maybe that would reduce road rage. So I'm more positive about it than I think people have been. And when I look at the root of that, I do wonder how much of it is people thinking that their experience is everyone's experience. And I think it's important to consider all experiences.
That's fair. I feel like the California thing, for me, it's before I moved to California, I could measure time and distance in the same way, where a 6-hour trip would be 360 miles. But I think the big thing is in California, because of the density, distance does not equal time spent. And it's like you could be going 5 miles, but it could take you an hour and a half because there's so much traffic. And so I think that's sometimes why it's like I measure it by time instead of that distance that we'll take. But I agree. I lived in LA before I came back up to San Francisco, and I'm originally from Portland, which is notoriously very nice. And I'll say I used to be a Portland driver, and then I became an LA driver, and now I'm a San Francisco. So it's balanced a little bit there, because I would be stuck on side roads in LA, completely backed up, not moving traffic. And so I can see why people might need some mindfulness there, because that legitimately, like, I experienced road rage, or like my car broke down because I ran out of gas because the traffic didn't move for like 2 hours or something. It was ridiculous. Holy moly. That was on Valentine's Day while I was by myself. And then somebody's like honking at me, and I had to push the car off to the side. And I was like, the other cars are right there. You're not going anywhere. Like, why are you mad at me?
What's the point of honking? Exactly. I was like,
help me.
Nobody's moving anyway.
Exactly.
Oh boy. That
was probably my worst driving day ever. So I would
that sounds terrible.
Really needed this at that time.
All right. And then this one's kind of cool. You can tune your guitar just using Google search.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a thing that it's like, how do they not already have this? Because that's anytime you need to tune a guitar, it's just like, oh, like Google guitar tuner or something like that, and then pick the first one and then play the tones. So that actually is a pretty solid feature. And just in terms of, you know what? I wonder if the Nest Hub could do this, because that is just like, if it's sitting there next to you, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to say, hey, you know who? I want to tune my ukulele. And it would say, okay, Micah, play the first string. And then it says, ooh, that's a little sharp. Turn the peg counterclockwise.
Yeah.
Gladly.
The whole thing.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So another quick story too is just Google TV is adding user profiles for Chromecast and on smart TVs, which is just a nice feature. I included this because I've been using the TV profile stuff on Apple TV recently, and it is interesting how that's one of those things that before you don't have it, you're like, it's fine, whatever, you can kind of mix stuff. But once people actually start using those profiles separately, it can be a really helpful way to keep your own cues and just explore stuff that you're personally interested without feeling like you're bugging other people on the
Sebastian and I have started doing that on Apple TV after not paying attention to it for a while. And that's been pretty great, having those different recommendations and also just keeping track of the shows that we watch independently.
Exactly.
That's very handy. And then last but not least, as we've talked about on this show plenty, so I'm not going to go and I'm not going to harp on it. UV index is an important thing to pay attention to as you are, protecting your skin. particularly those of you who are not as gifted with pigmentation. Very important to protect your skin. And so you can ask the Google Assistant. Somebody's going to get very mad that I said that.
Hey, why did you show me on the camera there for a second?
But anyway, you could ask the Google Assistant for the UV index. And this is, a long time ago, created a little shortcut for my mom, who is white, to be able to do this. And it's good that, you can just ask the Google Assistant. I assume I can ask, let me see if I can ask Alexa. Give me a sec. I'm going to mute whenever I say the name. What's the current UV index?
Right now, there's a moderate risk from UV exposure, with a UV index of 3. By the way, during this busy time of year, I can remind you to do something later so you don't forget. Just say,
please stop.
Remind me.
Anyway, so yeah, a 3 UV index, which isn't terrible. But
I do
yeah,
like the Google scale shows you what the scale means, because that was one of the weirdest things originally learning about UV index was just, it's like, oh, like
where does it
and
fall?
You're like, great.
Yeah.
The sun's looking about a 6 today. Yeah, exactly. Nice.
All right. Up next, we've got some grab baggy kind of stuff in the news in just a moment. All right. Up first for this next segment of the news is that Samsung, for some reason, now has a browser that you can use on Wear OS smartwatches. So if you've got a smartwatch on your wrist and you want to take the time to browse on it, holding up your arm and tapping away on a tiny little screen, you can do that.
Yeah.
Is that too much commentary?
Well, they did think about the tiny little screen part, because there is some interesting gesture type stuff where you can basically like swipe diagonally and go up and see parts of the screen if it doesn't fit in there and stuff like that, or going up to find your book, swipe up for bookmarks or zoom mode, or just send this web page directly to your phone. So this is like, it's always, Apple Watch has the same kind of browser too, and it's always just a fun punching bag thing. But when that one moment where you just need the headline or something like that, it can be pretty nice. I like to, Federica Vitici of Mac Stories always writes these epic reviews of iOS. And I took a screenshot of the article open on my watch, and I was like, oh, just digging in for round 2 of like a 10,000 word story on it. Like, doesn't work
hilarious.
at all, but it was, I like doing that. It's just like, just reading the news on my watch. Like,
Oh my God. Yeah. Reading the news on my watch, not for me, but I guess occasionally there might be a time. I'm just thinking of going to like some really old school website and nothing loads right. And frankly,
like
I guess
Netscape.
the new... Yeah, the new web pages too that have like scroll jacking, also not great.
what's your
on
watch
little
first
tiny
mobile
display.
design? It's like,
Come on, people.
I should have my entire shortcuts catalog available on Apple Watch.
I wonder
should
if
test mine, actually.
Squarespace has a mode for Apple Watch. All right, moving on. We talked a little bit about Fuchsia OS from Google, and Google continues to talk about Fuchsia OS for Google. So it's clear that the company has plans for its Fuchsia OS. That's its sort of own operating system that is part of its smart displays. And now there's been a job listing that kind of gives a hint at what Google might be working on now and will continue to work on as it adds more smart devices and displays to the mix.
Yeah, there's like, of course, all of these job postings are no longer up after these stories were written, because they're kind of, it's just like, oh, they want to, you'll be responsible for bringing it to additional form factors, which implies they're going to be doing more than just the smart speakers the way that they have done it now, or that some of them will have Chromecast, video conferencing, and machine learning capabilities and stuff like that. So it's all very similar to what we have now, but it is just interesting to see more of this, because I was just thinking the other day, I was like, whatever happened to that? And like some devices are kind of running it, but otherwise it's still low key. So we'll see what Google's doing that with over time.
This next story is really interesting and made me chuckle. There is a San Francisco street that continues to confuse Waymo self-driving vehicles. In fact, as they are driving along this road, they'll often end up getting sort of turning around and getting stuck as they are self-propelling through there. There's a little news article, or there's a news video that kind of talks about it. As different people who live in the area were saying, hey, we have this issue where this street used to be pretty quiet, and now suddenly we're getting all of this traffic along this street. You usually wouldn't see all of these vehicles. And someone quoted, I noticed it while I was sleeping. I awoke to a strange hum, and I thought there was a spacecraft outside my bedroom window. No, it wasn't a spacecraft. It was just one of Waymo's self-driving vehicles. Last time I was in San Francisco, I saw quite a few of them. You could pick them out, every other vehicle. There was a little bit of B-roll showing the vehicle getting turned around as it tries to make its way down this road. But yes, I see these all the time driving around San Francisco the last couple of times I've been there. And there's usually, we should be clear, there is usually a person in the vehicle. It is not...
just like taking a nap or something back there.
Yeah, exactly. There's usually a person in there for safety reasons. And I guess in some cases, the drivers had to get out and get the vehicle turned around in order to leave the street because the street was confusing them. So really cool that there's... Go ahead.
It's just like there's like 50 a day. Like it's like every 5 minutes a car comes up, gets stuck, and then they have to get it and turn around. And then like the next one that's doing the same route just goes and gets stuck there too. So I do love it.
This is a good case study. They will figure out what it is about this area that's causing this and hopefully make improvements based on what they learn here. All right. Last in this little segment is the fact that we talked about Spotify's car thing. It was this little display that you could have on your dash, and you used it to control Spotify. The Verge reports that Spotify has now opened up sale of the device, meaning that if you are a Spotify subscriber, be it free or premium, you can join the wait list to buy the $80 device. When I saw it was only $80, I thought, wait, what? So many in-car infotainment systems are way more than that. So $80 for a display, that sounds really good. And then I read more about it, and then I understood that all this is, as the Verge article calls it, is a big remote for Spotify. It's not something for actually having like Android Auto in your car. It's not for a display that could do CarPlay, for example. It is just a little display that works with Spotify on your phone and lets you control Spotify. So it is similar to just having... I used to have this little Bluetooth connected remote that was made for a car, and I clipped it onto my steering wheel because I have an older car and doesn't have the media controls built in. And you could play, pause, go to the next track. It's essentially like that, but with a screen. So it's a glorified remote, and it's $80, and there's better technology out there. Like I highly, highly suggest folks sort of think about it before making this purchase or getting on this wait list, because all you're getting is a Spotify remote with a screen. It uses your phone's connection. It uses everything from the phone. And so, too, you could, run into issues where you don't have enough ports or plugs or what have you that you need in your vehicle. So, yeah, I was kind of disappointed to hear that it didn't even have GPS on it or something, that I couldn't pull up GPS with this external screen.
I'm not sure if I feel the same way. Like, I think if you're a Spotify person, you're probably into Spotify and you're not going to change. And then that this is just like the car. I don't know. I think of like, I feel like I stereotypically think of like a car person who's also very into their music and like their playlists, and it like just, I don't know, like my friend Ricky who uses Spotify, I feel like would totally buy this. And
what's
just
the difference,
being a display and a controller is fine.
From having your phone up on your dash? That's
I just don't want to mount my phone to the dash. I don't know. I mean, it's just dedicating the physical control to and everything. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know. I personally will want more like dumb tech like this that's just the display and smart technology, but isn't trying to do way too much and costs $400 and has cellular so that you can stream Spotify. Like, I think this is a good move for companies that aren't Apple, Google, and Amazon to like make dedicated hardware for the thing that they're doing that is good and solves that need well. So I think this is interesting. Like, I get that. I don't know. I think it's
no, it's okay if you think
driven,
it's,
and so yeah, exactly. Like, I don't necessarily agree, but it's all up to you if you're into music too. I think that's why it's like if you're really into music, it's just a music accessory, and then otherwise, as a tech product, maybe it does leave something to be desired. But that's all.
All right. Up next, we have yes. Oh, this. There are some companies like Boston Dynamics who do make creepy robots, but they have very specific guidelines, including let's not put a gun on a robot. Other companies don't have those rules, and Ghost Robotics is one that fits that bill. The company has strapped a big old gun onto its robot dog, and you can see it now. So yes, this is pretty scary to see, and does kind of make you go, this is concerning. But I couldn't miss talking about a smart dog that is very threatening.
This one I don't disagree with you. I'm not here for this. So.
All right, let's move on. Arlo security cameras. This is a really good piece over on Gizmodo, talking about how there's becoming a trend, as Florence Ion points out, that the companies are figuring out if we like hardware companies in particular, and I see this mostly in the security space, in the smart camera space especially. Hey, we're not making enough money off of our hardware, so we're going to charge for services. But let's take that further and charge people for access to customer service representatives in a sort of premium manner. So essentially, if you want to speak to a customer service representative, as opposed to using other means of contacting support, then you pay a monthly subscription to do so, which I can't wait for regulators in the United States to come up against this one, because this one seems like a big one. It's like if you offer a product, there's warranty and all that kind of stuff involved where you are required to offer support up to a certain extent. And this should fall squarely within those rules, I feel. The idea
they do
that
have 90 days at least of in like live chat,
and that's how they're skating by, essentially.
Yeah,
is by offering it only for the first 90 days. But I don't know. I think I would pay to not talk to a human. Give me your chat line for money, so I don't have to call anybody on the phone.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I'm not sure if we said it that they're like basically taking away support unless you pay for it. So that they used to do that, and now they're like, oh, it's a subscription. I feel it's kind of odd, but and it doesn't feel as good as just the video storage where it's more literal and not just like you're out of luck unless you're paying us to get help with the thing that's broken now. So it's kind of, I get that vibe is there. And it looks like they did actually respond to Stacy's article saying like most people do just try to fix it themselves instead of doing that live phone support. But I don't know. It's kind of an interesting, it is a balance though, because it's the security system. So it's not just like phone support for something that's broken. It actually is that security support. So I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it is kind of like just sort of like you said, it's the reality of it. Whether or not that should be something that can't really be controlled unless there is some sort of regulation on these kind of things sometimes.
Yep. All right, past the bummer now, I did want to talk about one that was kind of interesting. This morning, Nanoleaf held an event where it showed off its Nanoleaf Lines line, which is its latest set of light products that the CEO of Nanoleaf said were inspired by constellations. And it's no surprise that they were inspired by constellations, given the way that they look. Essentially, what you get is a light bar that faces the wall as opposed to facing outward. And so it sends this nice sort of gradient, sort of light bleed onto the wall. And because the light panel is in the middle of that, there's this very nice sort of dark line that runs through it. So it just has this really cool glow effect. It's very subtle. You can connect them in specific ways. I already have ideas. Like I'd love to do a caffeine molecule on the wall. I think that'd be super cool. Another option would be, your constellation for your, what is it? The zodiac thing, if that's your cup of tea. Lots of different ideas there, and the Nanoleaf Lines line is also going to, as Nanoleaf has continued to do with its products, offer a thread border router system so that you can use it as one part of your thread network. We talked in the past about Thread, and I have espoused the greatness of Thread because it has continued to impress me with its connectivity, and so this will include that as well. This also has like a rhythm module built into it, so you can just push the button to start the rhythm module, and it will automatically listen to what's playing and use that to react to the scene. And then also using the Nanoleaf desktop app, you can sync what's happening on your displays to these lines that are on your wall. So really cool set of features for the Nanoleaf Lines, and I think they're very slick.
Yeah, these are awesome. I think it is an evolution from what seems like an art display to like wall art in a different way, that because it's projecting back onto the wall. I do kind of like that more, and it gives more unique shapes through the inner lines instead of the outline of the shape. I'm not sure if that made sense, but I almost guarantee that this is coming soon to a YouTuber's studio in a video that you watch online soon. So the whole new era for game streamers. But I do love Nanoleaf stuff, though. I want to get some. Yes.
All right. We are going to one more piece here that we'll talk about, and that is Tile's new trackers, because the company has updated its trackers to sort of compete with another popular tracker that's come out that has some pretty interesting technology built into it. And so now Tile has updated its current trackers and added a new one that supports ultra-wideband technology and even an augmented reality feature. So you can have an AirTags-like experience, even if you don't have Apple's AirTags.
As in precision finding, where you point the phone towards the tile and everything, and it's like, oh, it's 20 feet over there. So that stuff is actually really useful for just the precision of what you usually need. Knowing that it was in a different part of town that you left it is also very helpful. But then once you get there, it's like, where actually is it? So that is a nice feature. And these all do have QR codes on them too. So it's similar to the NFC lost mode kind of stuff. But this is all just kind of a good leveling of what kind of trackers can do in 2021, and that anybody can kind of get that benefit whether or not you're just into Apple products. So this is actually definitely a notable smart home thing that is just like the promise of Tile is now actually fully here in many ways. But that's great to see, because it is a great piece of technology.
Yep, I agree. I think everybody should be able to have this, to find their devices, whether they've got an Android device or an iPhone device, an iOS device. I think that it's good to give people that option to be able to find the tech that they've lost.
Exactly.
So, yes. Let's go ahead now, and it's time. It is time,
I wanna
folks.
see it.
Up next, we've got an unboxing of something I've been waiting for quite some time, and I have not unboxed this yet, so we're going to be setting this up live on screen. So you stick around past the break to see what I am unboxing and how the setup process goes. All right, folks, it is time. I received a package at the studio in the mail the other day, and it had an Amazon smiley on the side of it, so I guessed it was probably from Amazon. I opened it up, and this is as far as I got because I wanted to wait, and it was very hard for me to wait, but I did it for the sake of the show, to find a box inside that said Day 1 Editions, at which point I knew that this was Amazon's. I'm not going to tell you. If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll have to wait until I open the box. Because Amazon announced several different products a while back as part of its Day 1 Editions line. And it was a little bit like having a Kickstarter project. Essentially, what you would do is you would go to the link for the different product and you would choose to pre-order. And if that product got enough pre-orders, then they would make it. And the one that I have was the only one among the list that actually got to pre-order status. So I am currently removing the plastic on the outside of the box, and you can see my camera shaking because it is causing lots of vibrations here. And it's just a black cardboard box. I can take out the bottom here. There's a little tab, and open it up. And what do we find inside? Well, I've got to say it's a little messier than I was expecting. This is the box for the Smart Sticky Note Printer Day 1 Editions product. There's a little notepad, and it tells me what I need to know. An LED action button, the printing head with automatic cutter. Nice. I don't even have to cut it myself. An eject button. So it tells me to load the paper and set up my Smart Sticky Note Printer. So we're going to take these pieces out. Kind of a big power supply here, made by a company called Light On. And so you've got the brick that plugs into the Smart Sticky Note Printer on one end, and then the AC cord that goes on the other end. So let me head under my desk to get this plugged in after I get all of the rubber bands and things off of here. Luckily, I pulled a cord closer to me so that I would be able to plug it in without going very far. So here we go. All right, so I've got it plugged in the cord, but we're going to take a second because I have to load the paper first. Now, the printer itself comes in a little plastic container. I think this feels like biodegradable paper, but you know, who knows? Compostable paper, I should say. And I can put that back in, and then it's just this little black square. Or cube almost. It says, remove the sticker, press down the left side switch to open the cover and install the paper roll. So I'm going to start by removing that sticker off the top. It's lighter weight than I expected. And it looks like the printer comes with one ream of paper. And they already sent me, whenever this was ordered, they sent me an email that gave me the ability to purchase more. There are two options for the thermal printer paper. There's one that's just a bundle of all white, and then there is a bundle that has, I think, green, a sort of reddish color, and yellow. So what I'll do is press the button on the side. Oh, that's nice. Let me do that again. It has this nice sound to it. It pops open, and it says, caution, sharp blade, and then it tells you how to load the paper inside. So I'm going to read the instructions just to make sure here. It says, press down, remove the sleeve from the paper. I don't see I guess there is a sleeve. So we'll pull on this to remove that outer sleeve. So this is the yellow kind. I was wrong. I thought that it was white, but this one is yellow that it came with. And then it says, load the paper roll into the printer with the sticky side facing the lid. Extend the paper beyond the lid and close it. You'll hear a click when it's fully closed. So I will go ahead and load it. Here, I'll show everyone so that you can see. There's a little sort of space right there in the middle where I can drop it in to load it. And so we'll click that in. And oh, I see. There we go. And then it says, what did it say about? Extend the paper beyond the lid and close it. You'll hear a click when it's fully closed. Okay. With the... All right, so now it's fully closed. Now it says set up your smart sticky note printer. Place your printer near a compatible Echo device. I've got one behind me. Plug it into a power outlet using the included adapter. And if you linked your printer to your Amazon account during checkout, which is a feature that Amazon offers anytime you buy a product from them, which I did do that, it will attempt to connect to your home Wi-Fi network using your stored credentials. So I'm going to do that. Here we go. I'm going to plug it in. So we take on the back and plug in the power adapter like so. And I imagine that light's going to start lighting up here in a moment. Ooh, I can hear it. It's making sounds. Nice. It's vibrating a little bit. And oh, it's already printing. It says get started with your smart sticky note printer. Connect to your home Wi-Fi network. Give us a minute to find your network. If the printer won't connect automatically and the LED action button doesn't turn blue, you'll need to use the ALEXA app to set up Wi-Fi. Pair the printer with ALEXA. Once the LED action button turns blue, just ask ALEXA to discover your printer to finish setup. So I'm giving it a second here to determine if it is connected. Oh, there we go. It did come off. I was kind of worried to pull on it. And oh, there's the little Amazon smiley down at the bottom. And folks, it just turned blue as it connected to my printer. It says the printer is now connected to your Wi-Fi network. In a moment, the LED action button will change from orange to solid blue. So
I don't know. I love that it's just printing the instructions. Like, that's so genious that it's not like setting you up in the app.
Isn't that clever? Although now I think now I'm stressing out because I should have gotten these, because I don't think I realized until I heard that little sound how much I want just a printer that's just like, here's the weather, like every 3 hours of just like something totally unnecessary. I thought it was just going to be for the to-do list to like make little check boxes and print look at the sort of iconography it can do. See, it's got like a big exclamation point there at the top. So here we go. I'm going to say the word to get it connected. It says, say, ALEXA, discover my printer. So here we go. I'm going to mute while I say it. Alexa, discover my printer.
Starting discovery. This will take a few moments.
It says it will take...
Power on your new devices now, and if needed, put them in pairing mode.
So it's looking for it right now, trying to find it. And while we do that, I can read on. It says, once it confirms discovery of your printer, here are some things to try. Print my shopping list, print a note, pick up the kids today. So I can actually say, print a note that says this. And for folks who are curious, it's sticky on the left and right side of the sticky note. The middle of it is not sticky. And so you can use that to stick it to anything, because it needs to be able to, they wouldn't know where to put glue on the top and bottom because it could change. Mashed Potato asked, what kind of ink does it use? This is a thermal printer.
2 new devices, including printers and other devices. Try saying, turn on home vacuum.
Okay, so it seems to have had trouble finding it. So what I'm going to do is go into the ALEXA app, and I'm just going to add it manually. So we can go into devices. I can tap on, there it is. And it's already got the name Amazon Smart Sticky Note Printer. There's an option for reordering the rolls whenever it runs out. When my supplies are running low, just notify me. And then it offers some other options to do so. So I'll go back and it's taking a second to load here. There we go. Oh, it's enabled already. So let's see what happens when I tell it to print. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some. Ooh.
It says you can just say print a note and then specify any words.
Oh yeah, I know which one I'll do. So I'm gonna mute the whole thing because I want to surprise everybody.
Sure.
Alexa, print a note. Hello, Smart Tech Today.
Your note was sent to the Amazon printer.
It says your note was sent to the Amazon printer and it is currently printing out right now.
Ooh.
Da, 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 my
Hello,
new
Smart
notes.
Tech Today.
Says
Nice.
hello, Smart Tech Today. And I don't know where to put that. So
Stick it on your
I will. Yeah, exactly. And you can also do, let's see. Let me try
the
this one because this
Sudoku.
one's kind
I
of
forgot
fun.
about that.
Yeah. Alexa, print an easy maze.
Your maze was sent to the HP Office Jet.
Oh, no.
613.
Oh, no. Wrong one.
Just printing a giant maze on your.
Oh no! I wonder how I can. Specify which one I want to use. I'll have to look into that. So there's something to keep in mind if you've connected other printers to the to your AliXA account. Then you should be mindful that it might try to print to other things. Along with the actual message that I asked it to send. Oops, let me not show that QR code because I think that's a setup code. Down at the bottom, it has the time and date at which I asked for the message to be sent as well. So
nice.
A pretty cool little thing here. I will continue to experiment with this. I think I'm trying to remember how much I paid for. Oh, it was $115 that it cost, and I don't know if
I think it was on
when it's
sale original or like.
yeah, I think maybe I got it for 99
Yeah.
or something.
That's
But a really interesting thing. It is quite fun to play with. I am looking forward to continuing to use this. I'll probably put it, instead of being up in my office, I'll put it downstairs so that we can use it and have a little grocery list and have little notes that can be easily shared and use it for that. So a pretty cool little idea here from Amazon
Nice.
that I am glad ended up getting funded for day one edition's product.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. I am jealous. I am imagining now just completely unnecessarily setting your Echo to play the old computer printer sounds while it's printing. But like kind of thing. Like, because that's what I just imagine is like, oh, we've downloaded the schematics and they're printing out now on those tear off pages on the side. So this is awesome. I'm pretty jealous now.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this. I think it's a really cool idea, and we'll see how much it ends up costing me in,
The dot matrix.
additional.
Burke is saying, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how much it ends up costing me in terms of additional thermal paper because I might be like, print this, print that, print this, print that. If I can get it to print to the sticky note printer and not something else. All right. I think actually, so there is a piece that we want to talk about that was an excellent conversation between Amazon's Dave Limp and Nilay Patel, but we're going to save that because we want to get into
assign
that.
it as
more.
homework. People
Yes, exactly.
should read this article in the show notes for next week because it's like a long interview that's very, very interesting about how AliXA is run as well as just the Ring and Eero integration. So we can definitely dig into that because we've been covering that in the past.
All right. Let us move on to our picks of the week. Up first is Matthew's pick of the week.
Sure. This week is a free shortcut that anybody who has an iPhone, or I guess you can get it for Mac probably sometime soon, but Federico Viticci has updated his Apple Frames shortcut, which is it uses the assets that Apple provides for iPhones and iPads that are just kind of like a template for here's what an iPad is, and they really don't want you to show any other images of like graphics that aren't actually using these. But basically they're just empty shells. And every time you take a screenshot on your phone, you just get the screen of it. And so he made a shortcut that can figure out what type of screenshot it is and place it inside the proper frame of that Apple device. So for a lot of people, especially like me, it's just if you take multiple screenshots of your iPhone, you can have them up in little iPhone frames and put it up on your website or something like that, or your blog. But it's just a really clever use of shortcuts and just something I love using these, and I don't want to build it myself. And so I just love that Federico did this because it is very helpful. And if you're ever sharing your home screen or something, you can just make it that much fancier. So definitely check this out and get it for free.
Awesome. I was waiting for the update for this and was happy to see it roll out for sure. Over on my side, I've got a pretty inexpensive product for a pretty inexpensive set of products that I use in my own home. I've got in my garage a Wyze Cam V3. That's the latest version of Wyze's security cameras. And the Wyze Cam V3 now has a spotlight, a little LED spotlight. So what you can do is with your Wyze Cam V3, you buy this $17 spotlight, and it comes with the spotlight itself as well as a cord that has multiple pieces. So you plug it into the spotlight and run it to connect to the camera, and then you plug in the USB that powers it from wherever you have it plugged in. And now suddenly you have access to control that spotlight. There are different settings for indoors versus outdoors. So the light will be brighter if it's outdoors and darker if it's indoors. And then it also tells you like, hey, if you have this hanging from the ceiling, then you'll want to use a lower brightness setting because it might bleed into your shot, etc. But this is just a nice little inexpensive way to improve the lighting of your camera at night in particular, or like it is in my garage where it's pretty dark most of the time. So it's there to serve both as a way to improve upon the video quality when it needs to, but also just because it's kind of a reminder whenever I do have the Amazon folks dropping packages off in my garage that there's a camera.
You're on camera. Yeah, exactly. I like that it's just built off of the top of it too, because like I have these Wyze cams, but now I can have a spotlight camera and I don't have to buy a separate one. So
exactly. Yes, I love that. I love how Wyze considers that in a lot of its products, that you can sort of augment the tech that you already have as opposed to needing to go and get new ones. They also make excellent mounting kits for their different devices, which is great. A lot of times with the other ones, you have to buy from third parties, and sometimes those aren't perfectly made to fit how you want them to. And I've also found that Wyze does a good job of keeping the accessories at a good price in comparison to what you get from others. So really cool. If you've got Wyze cameras, the V3, this Wyze Cam Spotlight Kit can add a light to your setup. Okay, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Smart Tech Today. Of course, you can tune in live to watch the show by heading to twit.tv/ Wow, let me try that again. Of course, you can tune in live to the show by heading to twit.tv/live every Thursday around about 4:30 p.m. Eastern or 1:30 p.m. Pacific. But we think the best way to get the show is by going to twit.tv/STT, because by going there, you can subscribe to the show in all of its various formats, be it audio, video, and across all the different providers that are out there: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, etc. We try to be in all of those places. And now's a good time, I think, to mention Club Twit. If you would like to get all of our shows ad-free, well, you should check out Club Twit, because for $7 a month, you get access to every Twit show with no ads. So you will get the personal stream of ad-free content for all of our shows. You also get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has content you won't find anywhere else: before the scenes, before the show, after the show, in between, etc. And my favorite thing, which is access to the members-only Discord server, where you can chat with us while we're doing the show, but also chat with us when we're not doing shows, have conversations with your fellow Club Twit members, and with Ant Pruitt at the helm of the Club Twit community. Also, some great stuff, a fireside chat with Steve Gibson recently. Before that was a AMA with yours truly. Upcoming, there's going to be one, I believe, with Jason Howell. I've heard that the Laportes are also going to be doing a fireside chat, as we're now calling them. Very cool stuff, and those are only available to Club Twit members. So if all that sounds good to you, we think it does, twit.tv/clubtwit to check it out, $7 a month. And we also heard that some folks just wanted to support certain shows directly. Hey, I want to support my favorite show or shows, and not really interested in all that extra stuff. Well, if you use Apple Podcasts to follow the shows, then you can now subscribe to your specific shows that you want to get an ad-free audio version of that show. So, for example, if you look up Smart Tech Today in the Apple Podcasts library and you tap on the audio version, you'll get a little button you can press to subscribe to that show for $2.99 a month, and then you'll get that show ad-free. So that is a great way to support a show directly if you want to, without dealing with the extra details and whatnot of the Club Twit membership. Matthew Casanelli, if folks want to follow you online, as I know you've got a lot of things heading out, where do they go to do so?
This week, I want people to sign up for the newsletter, because coming soon is going to be the shortcuts for Mac release and everything. I don't know exactly when macOS Monterey is coming out, but there's an Apple event on Monday that's rumored to be about new Macs. So very likely macOS is going to come out when those come out. But that's going to be full on shortcuts goodness. And it seems, fingers crossed, that bug fixes are making things a little bit more stable if you've seen some of the instability. But I keep everybody up to date with my weekly newsletter. So MatthewCasanelli.com/newsletter. And it's a review thing that goes out through Twitter. So yeah, check it out. What about you?
Awesome. You can find me at Micah Sargent on many a social media network, or head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. Thank you all for tuning in to Smart Tech Today. We appreciate you. We thank you. And we say
100 episodes.
Goodbye. 100 episodes. Woo! Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Do you have an iPhone, an Apple Watch, an iPad, or any number of Apple devices? Well, you have got to check out iOS Today with me, Micah Sargent, and Rosemary Orchard. We cover all things iOS and help you get the most out of your devices.